I think my juices flow all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know as much as I know.
Right now, we've been able to stuff the stuff.
The curse is broken. NC State fans, finally. Finally.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
I mean, that's a triple play.
Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people.
We are all about trying new things here on OG Media. That includes coming to Broughton, Holliday Gym for Broughton's alumni game. This is the Law of the Wolf. This is the Law of the Wolf Broughton Alumni Edition. I'm Joe Giglio. Joe Obius is working as our producer today. You might see him pop on the screen in a little bit. / engineer. Yes, it's like an extra engineer, I believe is the terminology that you're looking for. So Broughton alumni. Scott Wood is the new head coach at Broughton High School. Are you the number one assistant?
I like to think in my brain I am.
Yeah,
but,
you are?
Yeah,
okay, this is Ralston Turner, Wolfpack legend. My actual second favorite all-time NC State basketball player. I know you don't know who my first is.
Scott Wood.
No.
Oh, man. I don't know.
It's your buddy from Alabama.
Trevor Lacey?
Trevor.
Oh.
I love Trevor like nothing else. Trevor is my guy. So, number two, not bad.
Not bad.
Number two assistant, not bad. You guys come on this year. You've coached high school basketball before. What has Scott Wood gotten himself into? And you guys have coached together, Swish Elite, your summer AAU programs. What has Scott gotten himself into?
So the first thing is, anybody that's in coaching will tell you coaching consumes you.
Yes.
And it has definitely consumed Scott. So when you come to a place like Broughton, that's been around for a really long time. It's in the heart of Raleigh. So it's a lot of history here.
Yeah.
A lot of
Devontae Graham in the hallway there, Pistol Pete.
Yep. There's
my man Jerome Robinson.
Exactly. And so naturally that tells you that this is a place that can be special. I think that's one of the reasons Scott took the job. I also think, just with Broughton's reach, the value of the community that it's in, I think that was what was most appealing to Scott. So
now you guys actually didn't overlap at NC State.
We kind of did.
Your sit out year?
Not sit out year.
Okay. So you transferred from LSU 2012.
Mm-hmm.
You sit out 12.
Mm-hmm.
That was Scott's last year.
12-13.
12-13. Okay.
Yep.
So I was going to say your only real connection is you both ran corner for Mark Gottfried. Do you have the person who's going to run corner on this Broughton team yet?
We were joking about this. There are guys in the gym that call themselves shooters.
Yeah.
But we say there's only really 2 real shooters in the gym.
Okay.
And we have whistles around our necks.
Okay.
So we've got some guys in mind that we like to run corner for. But in our heart of hearts, if it were between them and us, it's like, man, we're the real shooters. But
okay.
We're gonna keep working. I think ultimately we're excited to just put our footprint on the guys and help them and motivate them and develop them and just hope that they become not only just great men but better basketball players.
You used the word competitor. You and Scott are cut from the same cloth in that way. And I always tell people, in a situation when you're done playing, you try to find a way to compete. I've played golf against you. I've played golf against Scott. The fact that the two of you have gotten into coaching doesn't surprise me at all because this is what it's all about, right? Like these are the actual fun days for you, these practice days.
It's funny that you bring that up because probably a couple of days ago in our scrimmage portion, he and I were actually like having some friendly competitive banter across from each other because there came a crucial point in the scrimmage where I wanted a timeout and Scott also wanted a timeout, but he saw me first and gave it to me. So then at the end of the game, we didn't have any timeouts. He tells us we don't have any timeouts. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You wanted a timeout too. So we were just going back and forth about that part. But, I think one of the things about Scott, one of the things about myself is we see things alike. It was one of the reasons I was intrigued to coach with him, not in the summer, but here at Broughton as well. And honestly, it's been fun. It's like coaching with my pal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or my pals. So, he makes it fun. We see things a lot of the same ways. I trust him. He has the kids' best interest at heart. So it's all around a win.
How many times have you brought up to him that you own the actual single game record for 3-pointers in a game at NC State?
I have not brought it up at all.
Once?
No. But then again,
You remember what game it was?
Tennessee.
Okay.
But then, I look at him and I'm like, man, you are the all-time.
All-time.
You're number one on that list.
Yeah. Have there been any Rocky, Apollo Creed, empty gym 3-point shootouts between the two of you?
Not between the two of us, but we have definitely gotten out there and just kind of demonstrated some things for the kids.
Okay.
And it's like me and him are just like cash money.
You don't demonstrate the gyro ball to the youths of Broughton, do
No.
you can't teach that.
No. And you know what? To be honest, after I left college and kind of got into my pro career, it was a little bit of something that I worked on.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, longer 3-point line, wider court, longer players. I had to speed it up just a little bit instead of just jumping so high. So the gyro got out of it a little bit.
Okay. That's disappointing.
I mean,
It's your trademark.
I mean, it is, but I did what I had to do to be able to play at that level. So, it's not as much gyro as it is now.
So we had Stotts Bottle, another one of your assistants here, former Broughton guy, the actual on the staff here with you and Scott. We had him on the proper OG today. We were telling somewhat condensed and edited stories about the Final Four. I don't think you made it out to Phoenix.
I did.
Okay. I was like, I was pretty drunk in Phoenix, but I just want to make sure that we didn't see each other there.
No, we did.
Okay. But what did you make of the run for Kevin Keats' team and kind of how that's brought a lot of different parts of the NC State community together, particularly for the former players? You guys, it feels like I'm one of the connectors because I covered Les Robinson's teams. I covered Herb Sendek's teams. I covered Sidney Lowe's teams, Gottman's teams, Kevin's teams. But there's not always a straight line for you guys. So I think even if you don't make it out to Glendale, I'm sure you've seen an uptick in the communication and kind of the ability to just kind of connect with the state basketball family.
Yeah, so first of all, I was super proud of those guys. I mean, anytime you played for a school or a program, anytime you leave, whatever they do, truthfully has an effect on you, good or bad, because you're associated with that program. But that was awesome. That run they had was awesome. And for them to go 5 games in a row in the ACC tournament, just to give themselves a chance to even get in the NCAA tournament, I mean, what was the percentages? Like, it never happened before?
Not 5 and 5. Syracuse did it. UConn. Yep.
But outside of that, I mean,
over in the Big East, not in the ACC.
Yeah. So it never happened in the ACC. I mean, for them to just come together the way they did, guys, it seemed like they started to figure out their roles, figure out what they like to do or want to do best. Seemed like Kevin just let them play. It was beautiful. And obviously, for them to take down Duke, for them to take down Carolina for the championship, I mean, that's
Is
true.
that what happened? Did they beat Duke twice?
I mean, that's true law of wolf fashion. Like, you couldn't
Is
have
that what happened?
You couldn't have drawn it up any better. But it's, I truly believe they became America's team through that run. They were
the big boy.
Yeah. DJ Burns was an American darling. I mean, as a former player and former alum, I mean, we were all watching.
So I got 2 questions for you, 2 more, and we'll pass you off to Scott now. Number 1, now that you're dealing with younger players, we hear a lot about, and this is basketball, man. We're here at Broughton. If you missed our intro, we're over at Broughton. The alumni game is tonight, Holliday Gym. It's free, so come on over, check it out. They're gonna have a 3-point contest.
Dunk
no
contest.
Scott, no Ralston, but there'll be a dunk contest. You guys, I don't mean to reduce the promotion of your program to one guy, but you do have a top recruit in Jordan Page, a young player, talented player. So come out, see the new team, see how they're doing. But how has it been for you communicating with the players and really putting yourself in the brain maybe of some of your former coaches, and how, because we hear so much now, and Kevin Keats likes to tell me all the time, I'm 50, your generation below me, and then there's one more now below you. They don't think the same way. It's not the same, the old routine of sitting there and screaming at them and yelling at them and thinking that's going to work. It's not a real thing anymore.
That's true. And I think when I first got into high school coaching a few years ago, one of the things I learned really quickly was patience, right? Like, and Scott and I talk about this all the time. They're not Scott Wood. They're not Ralston Turner.
Right.
So you can't necessarily expect them to pick up on things at the speed that you may have picked up on it or see things exactly the way you would have saw it, right? And to your point, there comes that element where I say this all the time. I'm trying to remember what it was like when I was 15. Like, what kind of boneheaded stuff was I doing when I was 15? You know what I mean? Or, you know, if you get on to them, how do you also have some empathy for, like, I understand what you're going through, or I know this is hard. I did it, right? So there's also that human element too, especially with this generation, that you have to have, because they're much different than we were. Yeah. They're much different than you guys were. And keeps us right. Like, it's not the same. They don't retain information the same. You have to battle the whole phone and the social media type deal.
That's got to be the biggest one, the social media part of it.
It was a thing around when I was coming up, but it was nothing like what it is now. The access that these kids have now, it's unbelievable. And so I think just the patience part is just understanding, like, hey, these kids are high school age, and all of them aren't NBA players or destined to be NBA players. So we ultimately got into this to teach, develop, and mentor. You don't have to be a 5-star to be taught, developed, or mentored.
Yeah. And just because I said you can't light them up, some people get confused. That doesn't mean they're soft.
No, it does not. It just means they retain the information. Like, right? People always say as a coach, you got to learn the right buttons to push.
Yeah.
Because if you're truly trying to get the best out of that guy, you can't just say it's my way and I don't care about what anybody else has to say. I mean, that's archaic.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a player myself, I understood that when I was 15 through 22, right? Yeah. Like, just because that's the way you receive it doesn't mean that's the way they receive it. So honestly, the advice I would have for anybody is get to know the kid and what makes him tick. I promise you can relate to him a lot better.
Is Ravenscroft on the schedule?
So they are in our bracket.
Okay.
In the John Wall Holiday invitation.
Okay. I just want to make sure that Anton Gill doesn't come back.
Too soon still. It's still too soon.
You know I had to give you one.
God. Oh, God. Oh, man. You know what? I still, to this day, have not watched that game.
I would throw up if I were you.
Like, I won't. I have not brought myself to watch it. It just, no.
I know. Listen, you're going to help the OG Media with our retirement account.
Is any way you guys need me.
All right. Give the world a plug right now for your services, your financial services.
Well, listen,
How do they find you?
I'm a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. You can find me on our website. You can type my name in Google. You can find me on LinkedIn at Ralston Turner. You know, at the end of the day, I got into that business because I wanted to help people. And so, you know, if anybody out there that needs my help, feel free to reach out to me by the website or by LinkedIn. Shoot me an email. It's all over the internet. I'm happy to respond. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
You can talk to him directly when you say that.
I have your number.
I'm not going to call anybody out.
Gyro, let me give you a hug. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. You stay out of trouble, okay? You tell Scott we're ready for him when you can. All right, Joe, it's time to vamp. Come on over.
Well, I gotta thrust the mic.
Oh, because Ralston, or we got less background noise. You know, the Field of 68, they put on. The Field of 68 actually put on a tournament for college basketball teams
I know.
in South Dakota.
I know.
Look how good we are. We're right there with the Field of 68.
Oh, yeah, totally.
This is us on the same level, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, you could say this is us doing Field of 68, probably on the level that they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was when they started. That's all. Just keep talking.
I love Engineer Joe is scoping the peg level.
I got to make sure that the levels are fine. Otherwise, then things are going to be all wonky. That's all.
All right.
That's what happens when you're the producer / engineer sometimes. Just saying.
We all have our roles. How How does this compare? Now, you went to Cardinal Gibbons. We think of Cardinal Gibbons now
Dude,
as,
no.
this Shangri-La.
No.
This, though,
No.
this is where Pistol Pete played. Like, this is really kind of cool.
This is a facility that when I've been in here for the Holiday Invitational to do like, in between game stuff and whatnot in the past, this is on the level of some practice facilities you'll see on a college campus.
Yeah.
Just straight up in terms of how nice this place
Now,
is.
the locker rooms probably aren't,
I don't know.
but
I haven't been
the
I
gym
have not been in the
the
locker
setup itself. Thank you to Sam Hatem out front. They got shirts for sale out there. They got all kinds of food and concessions. So come on over. Holiday Gym. We're at Broughton. They have their alumni. They're going to play a game. There's also going to be a 3-point contest and a dunk contest. And again, Scott Wood, Wolfpack legend, now the head coach here at Broughton. We talked earlier today to Stotts Bottle, former walk-on with the Wolfpack, walk-on legend, end of bench legend. We got my man, the gyro, Ralston Turner, 3-point specialist, and now Scott Wood, the all-time career leader in 3-pointers for NC State.
The curiosity that I had in listening to Ralston, I'm curious how Scott handles this, and it's something that Kevin Keats talks about all the time too. I know he's talked to you about it all the time. Is the how do you get through to the kids?
Yeah.
How do you get through to? I say kids. I mean they are kids. Like trust me.
Well, we're parents. of high school kids, so that's different now.
Look. The whole
right.
You know where the mind like it messed with me was actually watching Cooper Flagg the other night, and he's 17. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Your kid's about to be 17 in February.
Right.
My kid's going to be 17 in April of next year. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time processing this, right?
The maturity level.
It's not even the maturity levels. I don't know about you, but I'm usually in the mode where even though I'm approaching, I'm 45 now, I still think of myself as a young guy. I'm not that far removed from college. No. I am that far removed from college. So you can't relate. Even with your own kids, you can't relate on a particular level because they're off on their own thing doing their stuff. I mean, you have to go back to thinking when you thought your parents didn't understand you.
Yeah.
So now you got to do this with the coaching. And while I understand, what I always find curious is the lament from coaches or those who are now coaching about, well, you got your phones, you got this, you got that, as if distractions didn't exist when you were on a college campus back in the day.
On campus.
The distractions were just different.
But, I was going to say, but I think.
In fact, I actually think I think college students are actually more inclined to get in less trouble now because they never leave their dorms. They don't have to leave their dorms. They just they just get on a video game and play each other if they want to, right? I'm just saying, again, this is just my,
There's a lot of fake IDs out there too.
I'm not saying
I think you might be missing that portion.
But you and I both know this, that even drinking is down.
Yes.
Beer drinking's down, all that kind of stuff, because of the availability of other stuff that allows you to be in your room and not whatever.
Sure.
Like I think back to when JJ Redick got in trouble for doing the towel thing and all that, or I was in the room when all this stuff was happening. Now nobody would even blink an eye at that. If anything, people would be like, "Good, you were in your dorm. You weren't out doing stupid stuff.
You didn't go out and get in trouble.
You weren't a Georgia football player getting behind the wheel and driving somewhere and getting a traffic violation." So it's just one of those things where I want to ask a lot of these guys. It's like, well, man, what the hell are you doing on campus? I was in college too. Like, I had classes with y'all. I knew what you guys were getting into. Like, I don't know. It's like it's an old man lament that sometimes I would like to push back on just a smidge, because the distractions are always there. They just take different forms.
Yeah.
And how you get through parents, dealing with parents is the same and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so anyway, it's just one of those things that I hear, and I hear the lament. I know Coach Keats has been a big proponent of that, or one who's pointed that out. I don't know how to get through. It's like, well, you got to adapt. Otherwise, you're going to be you're going to be in big trouble.
Well, I think a big part of this generation and the last two generations has been motivation.
Okay.
When we were growing up, we played sports because we wanted to play sports.
Yeah.
These kids, and as you're learning in junior hockey, youth sports are now like this industrial complex to get a scholarship, to move up. It's not just I want to play.
Yeah.
You got to have a stupid ranking. You got to have the rate. Like I mentioned, Jordan Page has got a rated recruit. It's got to be, I got to play for a scholarship. Or now I'm only playing basketball. I'm not playing football.
Yeah.
We played all different sports growing up.
Different sports, right?
You know what I mean? And that's because you weren't trying to solely be groomed to try to get this scholarship. And I know that's not all youth sports, but it's a lot of it. And it has been for the last 20, 30 years. It's been kind of a cottage industry. And that's, to me, what's disconcerting. You say Cooper Flag. Yeah, I'm sure he went through all that. But ultimately, you look at a guy, I think he just wants to be the best player there is.
Yeah, he wants to be the best player there is. I'm sure there's a lot of players that are still like that. Although the idea that parents are living vicariously through their kids to play youth sports, that's a tale as old as time. I mean, you and I can remember kids that we played youth sports with, in my case, baseball, where they were there because their parents wanted them there.
Yes.
And it's usually a dad who was good at a sport but fizzled out, and he's hoping that he can live vicariously through his kid.
Throw that speedball by it.
Exactly. You know, like, so, I mean, in the case of Jacob, he's playing hockey because he likes hockey. He just wants to play hockey. He wants to be on the ice. It's not like I have any familiarity with hockey. I didn't grow up with hockey. It's a relatively new sport to me. The difference, though, is, to your point, where I think you're right, it's the same reason why it's like Bomani talked about this recently on a podcast as it relates to hip hop musicians, right? Actually, it was a Vox article about what happened to the session musician.
Okay.
Right. Like, look, I just play. I pick up odd jobs. I freelance. I can go sit in on a band to record tracks. I can go to a local bar and make some money, all that kind of stuff. But all that stuff's been pushed out. Now, the reason why it's been pushed out is because everybody's chasing the high dollar stuff now, and there's no money to be made anywhere else. So you apply that to sports, you're getting guys that show up to college at Duke already made with a bazillion Instagram followers. You're getting people, you thought Zion was a big deal because the business partnership was Coach K going to Zion's people saying, hey, you got 2 million Instagram followers. We got X amount of Instagram followers. Let's have a mutually beneficial relationship where we can up your profile that will set you up for future advertising dollars down the line. Okay, cool. But now Cooper Flag's already coming in with a New Balance deal, which is separate from the Nike deal.
Right.
He's coming in with a Gatorade thing now to start things off. So are you here because the business is so established? Are you here to play the game? And then because you play the game, other things come to you? Or are you playing the game because you want the money that comes with the game and not, it's like,
or
it's
your parents, either one.
It's a conduit to the money rather than a byproduct of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this. Now that things come to me, rather than I'm chasing this because I know there's a financial payoff in the end. There is a distinction between that.
Yeah.
And I think that might be what coaches, which I can't imagine what they have to deal with, is this ready-made attitude of, not only are you hurting my kids, parents specifically, not only are you hurting my kids playing time and NBA future, pro future, whatever, you're also messing up my money.
Yeah.
Which that's when things get tricky.
Yeah. All right, we're here at Holliday Gym. It's Broughton Alumni game. They have a 3-point contest, a dunk contest. Come check it out. It's free. Okay. Scott Wood is the new head coach at Broughton. Obviously, Scott Wood, my compatriot, my co-host, Law of the Wolf podcast. This is an extra Law of the Wolf that we're streaming here on the YouTubes for OG Media. We talked to Ralston Turner. We talked to Stotts Bottle. All those good things. Of course, check those out on our YouTube page. Please do. Now, question for you, or potential concern.
Yeah.
I think my Wake County arrest record is updated with no arrests. I think I'm allowed to come over here. You're going to lose me to practice a little bit. I love going to practice. I'm one of those people.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
Well, first of all, when I was growing up, I went to practice. My dad was a high school coach, football, so I went to practice all the time.
Yeah.
Then he did softball, went to practice all the time. And I love going to practice because it's what I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I get to become somebody who covers a team, you know what we're not allowed to do? Cover practice. Go to practice. So in a weird way, the things I miss about like covering an actual beat is being able to go to practice and actually see things.
If you were Matt Norlander, you could go to practice.
Right.
If you were,
I didn't get those invites.
If you were Mike DeCourcy back in the day, it's
what was our guy down in Appalachian or whatever?
Oh,
John something.
John Rothstein.
Rothstein.
Yes, John Rothstein gets invited to watch Steve Forbes and various other coaches at practice. If you're Gary Parrish, if you're Seth Davis, right, then you get invited to practice.
Right.
We're just local yokels, man. We don't get invited to practice.
No.
But there is a tale to
Now we have audio. Perfect. All right. Well, come sit down with me. Since this is a Law of the Wolf, we'll talk a little bit about this football game coming up on Saturday while we wait for Scott Wood to come and join us. How does that sound? Once you get your headphones on. Because the gym's starting to fill up here.
They're not my kids, so I can't smack them.
Well, then you kick the table.
No, I kicked the table. I didn't bust the power supply.
Is it that tight? Like, I can't tell. I can't see it.
It's not that it's tight. It's just that you have a bunch of kids looking at phones, looking at practice, not looking where they're walking, and then of course they kick the cord, and of course that ends up pulling the power supply.
All right, it's okay.
And that's where we're here.
We've recovered. We still have power.
I'm fine. It's just I'm fine. I'm just more worried about, like, I'm perfectly fine buying another one. I don't know if you want to buy another one.
This is the Roadcaster.
It is the Roadcaster.
We can always use the power source from the other one.
That's a good point, but that just means
without buying a whole new unit.
No, I can just buy another power source.
Okay.
It is just it's just USB-C. It's fine.
Perfect.
It's fine.
Perfect.
It's fine.
All right. While we wait for Scott, NC State football takes on Duke on Saturday, 3:30 game, not a noon start. Duke was having a little bit of a magical season since they've lost 3 of 4. But you and I are both in agreement. It feels like I know what to expect out of Duke and Manny Diaz and their defense on Saturday, but I'm not sure what to expect out of Dave Doran's crew on Saturday, especially after the offensive explosion against Stanford. Like, is that sustainable, repeatable?
Yes,
it is.
I think the offense is sustainable. I think now that, look, you and I both know that Dave Doran likes to take things a little bit more conservatively. Dave requires this immense amount of trust in order for him to open up the playbook, if you will. I don't know anything about Robert and I.
Right.
But I got to imagine.
Who's that, BYU?
No, I get what I'm saying. I don't know anything about Robert and I in the sense of, like, is he the one that doesn't trust to open up the playbook?
Throttles it back. Is
he the governor, or is Dave Doran the governor? Now, we've had 12 years and different coordinators. I think I'm pretty confident in saying Dave's the governor.
Correct.
All right? So it gets back to that conversation around C.J. Bailey versus Grayson McCall at the beginning of the season, and why he felt the need to go back to Grayson McCall, despite the fact that C.J. Bailey looked like he gave you a different. And again, I know it's kind of weird and tricky talking about Grayson McCall because we know the end.
Right.
All right.
Right.
But we have to be honest about what we saw before the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before the end was forced.
And what we saw before the end was a guy who didn't look confident. We saw a guy who
sensitive.
Was not. And I understand why.
Yeah.
I understand why. Right. So when you kind of knew that in the back of your mind, to go back to him so quickly, and I guess that's the thing where Dave is a loyal dude. He's got the connections and Coastal Carolina and Tim Beck and all that stuff. I get all that stuff. But at some point, you got to put yourself in the best position to win. And I think that if you looked at the long term for the year, C.J. Bailey made the most amount of sense. But now we're here, and it looks like in the Stanford game, they finally kind of took the governor off. Wouldn't you agree?
But a lot of it was long running plays. That's why I would be slightly concerned that is it repeatable?
But you also know they were doing some gadget stuff in there too.
Yeah.
And they were making guys wide. There was also some yards after catch as well. That was designed that we hadn't really seen earlier on in the year. So offensively, I think they might just have finally taken the governor off, and we'll see where it goes from here. Now, is Manny Diaz and the Duke defense going to be a little bit of a different beast than the Stanford defense? Yes. So the question that I have is, it gets to something that you've been pointing out when it relates to NC State. How good is the defense?
Yeah.
How good is Davin Van? Davin Van's been good, but is it?
How much help does he actually have?
But how much help does he have? And it's also where he plays on the field too.
Yeah.
It's not a Peyton Wilson situation.
Yeah, it's tough to make a difference ultimately on a regular basis. Sure. Obvious passing downs.
Yes.
And that's where we've seen him.
And he's been a disruptor, and he's made incredible plays, right? But what do we know about Peyton Wilson after especially seeing him last year, right? All over the freaking field. All over the freaking field, right? So the question that I have with Malik Murphy and some of the playmakers that Duke has NC State's defense gotten incrementally better to make sure that Duke cannot? Because that's the thing. Miami's defense ain't that great.
Yeah.
The reason why Miami's in the position that they're in right now is because of Cam Ward and that offense. Defensively, I'm not surprised that Duke was able to get.
I was going to say that
points.
was Duke's actual best offensive game of the year.
Because Miami's defense isn't that good this year. So is NC State's defense better than Miami's?
Maybe not talent-wise.
Not talent-wise, but in terms of what Dave is known to do and what they can produce, they might be.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it ultimately comes down to whether or not we've seen the actual improvement on the defensive side of the ball. And that's the thing about, to be fair to State, they've gotten themselves back into games and won games because guys like Davin Mann or special teams has come up. Can that continue against Duke? I think it's a little bit of a different beast when you're going up against Malik Murphy and some of their playmakers than you were against Stanford, who not a good team.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of see it. I mean, I don't think State fans are going to be – there's not a State fan who's watching this or listening to this that thinks that losing to Duke is off the table. I think some State fans expect it.
Right.
All right?
Well, they lost to him last year. I get it. That was a different coach,
but
a different part of the year.
Different part of the year, which and it was also a classic NC State game where Dave does the whole we beat ourselves stuff, right? That gets the other question about State. Penalties and turnovers and all that kind of stuff, which is where Duke has been very good, taking advantage of other teams' miscues. If NC State's gotten all the bugs out of their system, all right, then give me State. But I don't know that yet because we haven't seen State consistently do that enough. Cal was a surprise, how they came back in that game. Nobody expected that. Defense helped out with that one. And I don't know if the Stanford game's an anomaly. I mean, certainly points-wise, it's a standout anomaly, right? In the Dave Jordan
school history that
right?
ACC, they've scored 59 points in an ACC game.
That's clearly an anomaly. So I don't know where to go from there.
Okay. All right.
Where's Scott?
What does it look like? I'm going to turn around. I see Ralston.
Now, was Scott coaching? Did you plan this out properly?
I did.
So when's Scott supposed to come up here?
Let me give him the wave. Let's see how effective that is.
Now, I'm going to give you behind the scenes action here. I told Joe, let's just record this and then put it out. Joe's like, no, we'll do it live. And it's like, all right, well, we're doing it live without much of a plan. Now, are we? But that's really what you'd expect from OG Triangle Media, is it not? Random high school kids knocking over power supplies, massive music being thumped through the PA. Trying to track down Scott Wood, who's not paying attention to Joe Giglio right now because Scott's talking to coaches and whatnot, right? So there you go. That's what we're doing here. Anyway, here's the other reason why I'm kind of like not in my happy place right now. Typically when I'm doing this, I have all the equipment in front of me. So right now my computer's over there, the Rodecaster's over here. I feel like it's like I always drive, right? So I don't like it when I'm not driving. So I was just explaining with it, the things over there, it's like I don't have my control room here.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one who put the computer that way.
Right, I put it that way because, because of reasons. And now Scott's here, so you can stop vamping. Sit down.
All right, Scott Wood, we won't keep you long.
That's all right.
All right, you're back.
I'm back.
I don't think you've ever done a podcast with me before.
Only a couple.
Okay, so we'll try to ease back into this.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about how this came about, you being the head coach for the Broughton Caps.
I think just a lot of people at Broughton and in the community that I knew, Will Roach being a big one. He kind of asked me about it to start, and I was like, you know what, let me think on it. And I thought on it for a little while, and I think ultimately I decided, if I have a good staff and a bunch of friends around me, I'll do it. So, we put the Broughton Wolfpack around us and went on after that.
Oh, we're antheming. It's live. It's a first. Officiating. Yes. Yes.
Take the whiteboards down.
All right, so the alumni game is getting ready to start.
Well,
I see Will out there.
We've got 15 minutes. I don't think we have an ambulance on site.
Okay, you got to be careful.
So the trainer's office is open, however, so we do have medical attention if needed. So,
what's been the best part so far of practice? Because I know you've done your Swish Elite, you've done youth coaching before, but what so far? This is like a little bit of step up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is just getting to work with these kids and try to grow them not only as athletes but as human beings. And it's definitely been a process because with Swish Elite you can kind of handpick your guys, and here you just got to deal with Broughton. So it's not necessarily always the cream of the crop. So you also got to understand and learn how to relate with them. So that's definitely been a process for us. But I know going forward we're going to start to figure some things out, and it's only day 4 for us for official practices. So it'll be a lot of fun going forward.
What is one thing that you're looking forward to? The first time you run corner, or?
Honestly, we've got Richard Howell on the schedule this year over at Green
Oh, is that right?
So if you guys do a podcast here, Green Hope, that's going to be a lot of fun. Richard's at Green Hope.
Oh, my God.
Yep. So
yeah, he just picked up a foul.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Amazing.
I know he's got a good little team there, and we've been kind of going back and forth. And I think the main thing is just getting back in the community. We 2 guys that are not technically from Raleigh, but have settled in.
Right.
So just trying to kind of enjoy the moment and help where we can within the community.
I see a lot of woodenisms in there from your time with Mark Gottfried.
Yeah, I've got on the wall. Jeff Dunlap told me the other day, there's no bad students, just bad teachers.
Okay.
So I've got that on the wall. Our locker room has a lot of stuff and a lot of similarities to when we were at state. We run a lot of the same actions. So, I mean, that stuff kind of just sticks. Caught myself watching old film the other day of me and Ralston trying to figure out some plays to implement for a couple shooters. So it's just been a lot of fun. And, to do it with friends, Stotts Battle, Ralston, Ben McCauley, Chris Brickhouse, it's just been, a pleasure.
Lot of plays or few plays that we'll modify as we go along?
To start, probably not as much because I feel like we're somewhat overwhelming them at times.
Sure.
So I'm sure as the season gets on and they start to get a comfort for us as a staff and what we're looking for, I'm sure we'll start to add a couple more things.
You don't play Garner this year? Do you play Garner this year?
We do not. We open at South Garner.
Okay, you don't play the G proper.
Nope.
Then I can root for you in every game you play.
Yes, you can. Unless we see each other in the wall, but I don't even know if they're in the wall.
They're not.
Okay,
There's
then we
controversy.
Won't see them. Maybe playoffs.
Okay. Then we're safe.
Okay.
I'll go buy a Broughton shirt downstairs.
There you go.
All right.
I'll make sure you both get one.
No, we'll go buy one. OG Media. Listen, thank you, Bo.
No, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it.
You.
Awesome.
Get back to work. All right, Joe. We've had squeaks. We've had music. We've had the national anthem. We've had it all. That power supply, Field of 68, eat your heart out. We have, as we've demonstrated now, Enloe, Broughton. It used to be the Cap 6. I don't know what the name of their conference is anymore, but we have it on lock right here on OG Media. Appreciate you guys sitting through all of this with us. And we have an after dark on Saturday, so come on back. YouTube.com/@OG Triangle Media. Thank you.